Essel approached Jinu, her voice hesitant. She tried to get his attention, addressing him formally despite his previous instructions. Jinu reminded her that she didn't need to call him sir, but she continued, asking if he knew how many clans he had destroyed so far. Jinu calculated that excluding her clan, he had taken down 9 clans since they were now on the 89th floor. Essel explained that starting from the 90th floor, the top noble clans managed each floor. These clans were significantly stronger than the high-ranking nobles they had encountered so far. She suggested that if Jinu could reason with them like he did with her clan, they might be willing to hand over the permits. Jinu, however, questioned her, asking if her clan would have talked things out with him if he were weaker. Sweat formed on Essel's face as she realized the truth of his words. Jinu emphasized that the hierarchical disputes between demon clans meant strength was essential. He declared that he would make the Radish clan number 1. Essel, correcting Jinu on the name of her clan, hesitated before asking why he was looking out for her clan. His explanation for this unexpected favoritism was simple. He had taken a liking to Essel. The revelation startled the young demon, leaving her momentarily speechless. Jinu thought to himself that she reminded him of Jinho. He pondered if he was just the type of person who got along well with dorky people. As Jinu ascended the castle floors, he encountered a stark increase in difficulty, just as Essel had warned. Starting from the 90th floor, the number of monsters guarding the castle grew exponentially, and their ranks were significantly higher than the demons he had battled on the lower floors. Despite increasing his intelligence stat, the relentless battles took a considerable toll on his mana. His shadow soldiers were repeatedly destroyed and regenerated, demanding a substantial amount of his energy. By the time Jinu reached the 97th floor, it was clear that his progress wasn't just a matter of luck. His determination and strength carried him through, and a notification informed him that he had leveled up to 90. Essel observed Jinu with a mix of awe and curiosity. He had defeated the Ricado clan, the 5th most powerful clan, and then went on to conquer the Peidos clan, the 4th most powerful. Essel couldn't help but ask if all humans were as strong as Jinu. He modestly replied that there might be 1 or 2 others. In his mind, he thought of Go Gun Hee and Cha Hai-in. Both of them exuded an aura that suggested they were much stronger than other S ranks. Jinu considered the significant difference in strength among S ranks, noting that the gap might be even greater than among other ranks since the mana levels of S ranks couldn't be measured. He reflected on how he might have been on the same level as Mr. Go in the past, but now, having climbed so high, things had changed. Reaching a critical point, Jinu told Azel that she could return downstairs, stating that he would figure out the way himself from here on out. Essel, feeling a bit dejected, asked if she was no longer useful to him. Jinu found her reaction amusing but reassured her, expressing gratitude for her help. Essel, however, insisted on continuing with him, wanting to see what he could achieve. Accepting her decision, Jinu and Essel continued their journey together. With renewed determination, they stepped into the unknown, their bond strengthened by the shared trials they had endured. As they entered the 98th floor, the anticipation of the challenges ahead loomed over them. Meanwhile, in the human world, the scene shifts to Incheon International Airport, where S-rank hunter Goto Ryuji has just arrived. The air was thick with commotion, and Goto sensed an immensely powerful presence in the vicinity. His interpreter questioned whether this presence was more powerful than Goto himself, but Goto dismissed the thought, puzzled as to why someone so powerful would be at the airport. An association member greeted Goto, apologizing for the delay in getting through the crowd. Goto inquired if there was anything significant happening at the airport. The member explained that a hunter from the United States was visiting South Korea for personal business, assuring Goto that there was no need for concern. This information made Goto wonder if this American hunter was connected to recent events. The group then proceeded to the Hunter Association, where Go Gun Hee awaited them. Go Gun Hee regarded Goto Ryuji with respect, acknowledging him as the only hunter in Asia who could stand on equal footing with Liu Zhigang. He noted that Goto was no ordinary man, leading a guild that was the 2nd largest in Asia, with 11 of Japan's 21 S-rank hunters as its members. Unlike South Korea, where 5 major guilds competed, Japan's Blade Guild, led by Goto, held considerable power. Goto's interpreter introduced himself as Hanakawa and relayed Goto's words. Due to recent disastrous events, Goto had concluded that Jeju Island could no longer be neglected. He pledged Japan's full support. Goto then proposed forming a united strike squad composed of top-ranking hunters to tackle the ant colony on Jeju Island. This idea shocked the association members, who were wary of the danger involved in attacking the heart of the ant colony. Goto explained that since they were dealing with an S-rank gate, they had prepared a strategy. He presented documents detailing the data they had gathered on the ants. Each ant rivaled the strength of a high-ranking hunter, but had a short lifespan of only a year. Therefore, if they could kill the queen, all the ants on Jeju Island would die within a year. Go Gunhee acknowledged that eliminating the queen sounded more realistic than exterminating the entire colony, but he knew it would be incredibly difficult due to the ants' loyalty to their queen. Goto reassured him that although they would have to get past thousands of ants, it had been done before. He referenced past events where the ants left their tunnels when South Korean hunters carried out search and destroy missions. Goto planned to have 10 of Japan's 11 S-rank hunters participate in the raid, creating a diversion while South Korea's top-ranking hunters would defeat the queen. This plan involved attacking the island from all directions, luring the ants away from their tunnels, and then having the South Korean hunters infiltrate and kill the queen. Go Gunhee pondered the feasibility of this plan. He knew that unlike Japan, South Korea had only 8 S-rank hunters, with only 6 realistically capable of participating in the raid, due to his age and Byung Gyu's retirement. Despite recognizing the plan's plausibility, Go Gunhee questioned Goto's motivations for mobilizing 10 S-rank hunters for the raid. Goto's internal thoughts revealed his ambition to achieve the title of national-level hunter, which would significantly benefit Japan. He had carefully selected the S-rank hunters to minimize risks, seeing this raid as an opportunity to prove his worth. Goto sighed inwardly, thinking, the South Koreans have no good reason to decline my offer. This isn't the most righteous way of doing things, but to become a national-level hunter, I have no other choice. Go Gunhee knew that South Korea's limited number of S-rank hunters made the collaboration essential. He pondered whether they could defeat the queen of an S-rank dungeon, considering the ants' rapid evolution. He realized the importance of Sung Jinu, who had defeated an A-rank gate boss alone. If Jinu joined forces with the other S-rank hunters, their chances of success would increase. Recognizing the urgency due to the ants' potential to acquire flight, Go Gunhee ultimately decided to move forward with the plan. He informed Goto that once the documents had been assessed, they would send a detailed plan. Back at the castle, Jinu had relentlessly cleared 99 floors, battling through hordes of powerful demons and monsters. A notification appeared. Level up. Jinu had reached level 93. He steeled himself for one final battle, ready to face whatever formidable foe awaited him on the last floor. As the ominous structure of the demon castle towered above them, the wind howled through the desolate landscape, carrying with it the scent of ashes and decay. In the distance, 2 figures stood silhouetted against the moonlit sky. It was Jinu, the Shadow Monarch, and Asil, his loyal companion, and they had just reached the 100th floor of the demon castle. Jinu had fought his way through countless hordes of demons, his strength and skill unmatched. But now, as he stood on the precipice of the final battle, he could feel the weight of his responsibility. They were welcomed by the Demon King Baran and his magical beast. A colossal figure descended from the heavens with a thunderous crash. The ground shook as the beast landed, its presence imposing and fearsome. Jinu's eyes narrowed, a steely glint reflecting his determination. Baran, the Demon King of Demon Castle, looms ominously against the stormy sky. Clad in dark armor that melds with the shadows, his red eyes pierce the darkness. He wields a colossal sword crackling with ethereal blue energy, contrasting starkly with the dark ambience. He rides a magnificent white dragon, Wyvern Kaiselen, a magical beast of unparalleled beauty and strength. The dragon's radiant scales and golden eyes exude purity and power, starkly contrasting Baran's dark visage. Jinu assessed the situation carefully, wondering if he would be able to defeat this powerful adversary. Asil, standing beside him, was awestruck. Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped in disbelief. The intensity of Baran's thirst for blood was palpable, sending chills down her spine. She had never witnessed anything like this before. Baran's magical beast, a wyvern capable of flight, added another layer of difficulty to the confrontation. This was the first non-demon creature Jinwoo had encountered in the demon castle besides Essil's horse. Jinwoo's thoughts raced. He wondered if mountable creatures like the wyvern were rare exceptions. He considered the possibility of extracting the wyvern's shadow if it wasn't a demon. As he contemplated his strategy, the Demon King ascended into the air, his form becoming more imposing against the backdrop of the castle. Baran raised his sword high, channeling a dark, ominous energy. The ground beneath them trembled as the Demon King activated his skill. Hell Army! A swirling vortex of dark energy erupts from the depths of the vortex, massive, jagged walls rising like impenetrable fortresses. These walls are not merely defensive structures, they are portals to another realm, a realm teeming with demonic forces. As the walls ascend, they begin to crack and split open, revealing countless demonic soldiers pouring forth. These soldiers vary in size and shape, from small, agile imps to towering armored knights. The demon general, wielding fearsome weapons, they command the demonic army with an aura of authority. Jinwoo stood at the edge of the battlefield, his sharp eyes taking in every detail. The knights and generals were formidable, their menacing auras marking them as at least A-rank monsters. There were over 100 of these elite adversaries, and beyond them he sensed the presence of countless other demons, numbering well over 1,000. The sheer scale of the opposition was daunting, but Jinwoo remained unfazed. As the first signs of the battle's commencement became evident, Essil, standing beside Jinwoo, looked to him for guidance. Her voice trembled as she asked what they should do, clearly overwhelmed by the sight of the charging demon horde. Jinwoo, however, was composed, his mind already strategizing. The horde of demons roared in unison, their ferocious battle cries echoing across the battlefield. They charged forward with unrelenting force, their eyes fixed on Jinwoo. Essil, seeing the approaching danger, was gripped by fear. Her face paled and her voice faltered as she called out to Jinwoo, but Jinwoo was not ready to act just yet. With a cold, calculating glint in his eyes, he watched as the demons drew nearer. Each second felt like an eternity as the horde closed the distance. He waited for the perfect moment, his patience unwavering despite the impending threat. When the demons finally reached the precise location he had anticipated, Jinwoo sprang into action. He activated his powerful skill, Monarch's Domain. With a commanding roar, he summoned his shadow soldiers. From the darkness they emerged. The shadow soldiers launched themselves at the demon horde with lethal precision. Blades flashed, and the air was filled with the sounds of battle as the soldiers stabbed and pierced through the demons. The scene quickly descended into chaos. Blood splattered everywhere, painting the ground in a gruesome tableau. The shadow soldiers, relentless and efficient, cut through the demon horde like a hot knife through butter. The demons, despite their numbers and strength, were no match for Jinwoo's summoned army. Within moments, the surge of the demon horde was halted midway. Their ranks were being decimated by the shadow soldiers' brutal assault. Despite the relentless onslaught of the shadow soldiers, a handful of demons managed to break through the defensive line. These determined creatures, driven by a desperate urge to reach Jinwoo, charged forward with unyielding ferocity. Their eyes, filled with a mix of rage and desperation, locked onto Jinwoo as they prepared to launch their attack. However, they were blissfully unaware of the imminent danger lurking in their blind spots. From the shadows, Jinwoo's loyal companions emerged. Tank, a massive and formidable presence, bared his lethal claws. Iron, towering and muscular, gripped his heavy axe with unwavering determination. Igris, the embodiment of agility and precision, held his sword with a deadly grace, while Tusk, the mystical caster, clutched the orb of avarice, its power pulsating in his hands. With a collective roar, Jinwoo's companions sprang into action. Iron, with his immense strength, swung his axe with devastating force, smashing one demon into the ground with a bone-crushing blow. Tank, a blur of motion, lunged at another demon. His massive claws cleaved through its flesh effortlessly, leaving a trail of blood in their wake. Igris, displaying unparalleled agility, leaped into the air. His sword glinted in the dim light as he executed a flawless mid-air slash, cutting down a demon in one swift motion. Blood sprayed across the battlefield, painting a gruesome picture of the carnage. Tusk, standing at a distance, focused his energy into the orb of avarice. The artifact began to glow with an intense light as he chanted the incantation for his skill, Hymn of Blazing Fire. In an instant, a torrent of flames erupted from the orb, engulfing the battlefield. The fiery inferno roared soared with unrestrained fury, consuming everything in its path. Demons caught in the blaze were incinerated, their screams of agony echoing through the chaos. Asil watched in awe, her heart pounding in her chest. She had climbed the floors with Jinu, witnessing his strength in various battles, but this was the first time she had seen him in a fight of this magnitude. Her gaze shifted to the far end of the battlefield, where Baran, the Demon King, stood. Baran was the supreme ruler of this place, a powerful and terrifying presence. Jinu, on the other hand, was the invader, a formidable threat that needed to be eliminated to protect the demon's domain. Conflicted thoughts swirled in Essel's mind. She had been with Jinu, witnessing his strength and determination, yet here was Baran, her king, the one she was supposed to serve and protect. The situation was dire, and the lines of allegiance blurred in her mind. She found herself caught between two powerful forces, unsure of whose side she was supposed to take. Amidst the tempestuous skies, the Baron King roars with a fury that reverberates through the heavens. His bellow, laden with wrath, pierces the atmosphere, invoking a secret chant. With a guttural scream, he unleashes his spell, and the once dark clouds ignite with dazzling, crackling lightning. The air is charged with electric intensity as the spell's power manifests. Jinu stood amidst the chaotic battlefield, his senses heightened and his mind racing. The realization dawned on him that this wasn't just any ordinary lightning. The ominous, crackling energy that surrounded him was a spell with stunning effects and a wide area of impact, capable of incapacitating his forces and draining his mana reserves. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Jinu activated his immunity, a defensive measure that rendered him resistant to abnormalities in status. With a quick assessment of his surroundings, Jinu knew he had to act swiftly and decisively. The Demon King's relentless assault was putting immense pressure on him and his shadow soldiers. If he couldn't neutralize this threat, his entire strategy would collapse. His eyes locked onto the Wyvern, the monstrous beast that served as the source of Baran's aerial dominance. Determined, Jinu made his move. He dashed towards the wall, using his enhanced agility to scale it effortlessly. Reaching the top, he launched himself into the air, aiming to strike the Wyvern's wings and bring the beast down. But as Jinu's dagger sliced through the air, it clashed with the blade of King Baran. The Demon King, with his sharp instincts and formidable prowess, intercepted Jinu's assault mid-air. Baran's sword moved with lethal precision, and in a split second he counterattacked. The force of Baran's blow was immense, sending Jinu crashing to the ground with a thunderous impact that shook the battlefield. Jinu gasped for breath, his eyes wide with the realization of Baran's overwhelming power. The Demon King roared, and a barrage of lightning spells rained down upon Jinu. The ground trembled and cracked under the earth-shattering impact. Jinu could feel the searing heat and the electric charge in the air, pushing his defenses to their limits. He thought to himself how fast Baran was, noting that his robe could only provide limited protection against such a relentless assault. In the midst of this dire situation, a glimmer of hope appeared. Tusk, Jinu's most powerful shadow soldier, rushed to his aid. The mighty creature roared and unleashed a blazing inferno to counter the Demon King's lightning spells. The clash of elemental forces lit up the sky as fire met lightning in a spectacular display of power. Tusk, with unwavering determination, went full throttle, launching a series of devastating attacks. Tusk's fiery blast was so strong that it surpassed the might of Baran's lightning spell. It struck the Wyvern with incredible force, causing a massive explosion mid-air. The impact was so powerful that it sent the Demon King and his beast crashing to the ground. Jinu felt a surge of relief and pride, knowing that the orb of avarice he had given Tusk was proving its worth in this critical moment. With the Demon King and his Wyvern grounded, Jinu saw his opportunity. He stood up, pointing his dagger at the fallen Demon King. Jinu felt a sense of satisfaction that he had finally managed to bring Baran down to his level. Jinu observed his surroundings carefully, analyzing his own abilities and the ongoing battle. He knew that some of his skills didn't consume any of his mana, such as the Commander's Touch. This skill allowed him to exert physical force on an object without using mana. However, he needed to remember that moving heavier objects required a higher skill level. Additionally, his shadow soldiers, once preserved, didn't need mana to be summoned again, but if they were destroyed, it was a different story. When his shadow soldiers were destroyed, they consumed mana to rebuild themselves. Once his mana reserves were depleted, the shadow soldiers couldn't regenerate and would return back into the shadows. This made it crucial for Jinu to increase his mana by raising his intelligence stat. He also noted the incredible strength and powerful magic capabilities of the Demon King. Jinu wondered how the Demon King's soldiers were able to move. If the Demon King's soldiers couldn't regenerate after being destroyed, then resummoning them should be taking a toll on his mana reserves. nerves. This observation gave Jinwoo some insight into the possible weaknesses of his enemy and the importance of managing his own mana efficiently during the battle. The battle's intensity escalated as the Demon King Baran's rampage showed no signs of abating. His first target was Tusk, the towering beast who had been a cornerstone of Jinwoo's strategy. With a deafening roar, Baran unleashed a powerful stun spell directly at Tusk. The spell's force was immense, pushing Tusk onto the defensive. Yet Tusk quickly activated his Hymn of Protection skill, conjuring an impenetrable barrier around himself to fend off the relentless assault. Jinwoo, observing the battle, felt a rising sense of urgency. His mana reserves were running dangerously low. The relentless onslaught from Baran was unyielding, providing no respite for Jinwoo to replenish his energy. He knew that regenerating his high-ranking soldiers, such as Iron and Igris, consumed an exorbitant amount of mana. Despite the mounting pressure, Jinwoo understood the critical importance of his shadow soldiers in this fight. He needed to secure victory before his mana was completely exhausted. As Jinwoo strategized, Iron thundered into the battlefield. With a roar that matched Baran's ferocity, Iron swung his massive axe with all his might. However, the Demon King effortlessly countered Iron's attack. With a swift, decisive move, Baran cleaved Iron's axe and then plunged his sword deep into Iron's face. The mighty warrior's shadow was engulfed in a surge of electricity emitted by the Demon King, utterly destroying him. Next, Igris entered the fray. He leaped high into the air, his sword aimed at Baran with lethal intent. Using all his strength, Igris launched a powerful attack, yet Baran's heightened instincts allowed him to anticipate the strike. With a menacing grin, he stopped Igris's blade with his bare hand. The Demon King then unleashed a barrage of lightning spells, sending Igris flying across the battlefield. The sheer force of Baran's magic left Igris with no chance of standing against his might. Spotting a fleeting opportunity, Jinwoo dashed toward Baran with incredible speed. His dagger aimed for a critical strike, but Baran's reflexes were swift. He blocked Jinwoo's attack with ease, leaving Jinwoo momentarily stunned by the Demon King's capabilities. In a swift motion, Baran grabbed Jinwoo with one hand, lifting him off the ground while readying his sword for a lethal blow. Just when it seemed like the end for Jinwoo, his shadow soldiers, having regenerated, re-entered the battle. Iron with his formidable axe, and Igris with his deadly sword combined their strength to intercept Baran's attack. The force of their combined strike was so powerful that Baran's sword creaked under the pressure and eventually shattered. Seizing the critical moment, Jinwoo drove his dagger deep into the Demon King's heart. His shadow soldiers followed suit. Igris stabbed Baran's sword-wielding hand, causing the weapon to fall. Jinwoo continued his relentless assault, stabbing repeatedly. For a brief moment, it seemed they had finally overcome the formidable Demon King. But Baran was not finished. With a guttural roar that reverberated through the battlefield, he tapped into his vast reservoir of magical power. Unleashing a devastating spell, the sheer force of which was overwhelming, Baran blew Jinwoo and his shadow soldiers away. The explosion of magical energy was so intense that it illuminated the entire battlefield, casting an eerie glow over the chaos. Jinwoo, disoriented and struggling to regain his footing, realized the true extent of Baran's power and the monumental challenge that still lay ahead. As these two forces of nature prepared to face off, the battlefield crackled with energy. The ground between them was torn and fragmented, showcasing the sheer power of their confrontation. Jinwoo dashed in like a blur, a streak of motion barely visible to the naked eye. Jinwoo pressed on with all his might, his muscles straining and his focus intense. However, the Demon King, with his immense strength, pushed Jinwoo back. Despite Jinwoo's best efforts, Baran's sheer physical power was overwhelming. Undeterred, Jinwoo activated his skill, Critical Attack. This move channeled all his energy and precision into a single, devastating strike. In a whirlwind of motion and energy, Jinwoo and Demon King Baran clashed in a fierce battle. However, the Demon King was not easily defeated. Shaking off the effects of the critical attack, his eyes blazed with fury. Baran roared in defiance and unleashed another stream of magical waves at Jinwoo. Jinwoo's eyes widened in shock, realizing the peril he was in. The force of the waves was so strong that it brought him to his knees. He raised his dagger, exerting all his strength to block the incoming assault, but the intensity was overwhelming. Despite his best efforts, Jinwoo couldn't hold his ground any longer. The magical force sent him crashing to the ground, his dagger flying from his grasp and spinning through the air. As Jinwoo struggled to recover, the Demon King seized the opportunity. With a wicked grin, Baran swung his scythes down towards Jinwoo. Acting on pure instinct, Jinwoo grabbed both of Baran's wrists, halting the deadly blades mere inches from his face. The struggle was intense, every muscle in Jinwoo's body straining against the incredible strength of the Demon King. Baran's grin widened as he prepared to unleash another barrage of magical waves. Jinu's heart raced as he realized that Baran's mana reserves seemed limitless. The Demon King opened his mouth wide, gathering energy for another devastating attack. Just as he was about to release the magical waves, a dagger flew through the air and struck him. Baran flinched, momentarily distracted by the unexpected interruption. Jinu, momentarily stunned, followed Baran's gaze and saw Essel standing in the distance. Her body trembled with fear, realizing the grave danger she had put herself in by attacking the Demon King. Baran's eyes burned with fury as he glared at her, his teeth gritting in rage. Seizing this moment of distraction, Jinu knew he had to act quickly. With a surge of determination, he tightened his grip on Baran's arm. He remembered the intelligence stat he had invested so heavily in and activated his skill, Commander's Touch. Jinu, with all his might, ripped Baran's arm right off his body as blood gushed from the wound. Baran staggered, his grip on Jinu loosened. Not wasting any time, Jinu pressed his advantage. Rolling his arm, he aimed a devastating blow at Baran's throat. The force of the punch was so immense that it decapitated the Demon King in one swift motion. Baran's head flew from his body, his soul leaving in a blur of motion, an absolute annihilation. The lifeless body of the Demon King crashed to the ground with a resounding thud, signaling the end of the fierce battle. In the distance, Essel stood in awe, her eyes wide with admiration and disbelief at Jinu's strength and abilities. A notification appeared in Jinu's field of vision, informing him that he had received Baran's soul and completed the quest of collecting demon souls. Essel, overcoming her initial shock, sprinted towards Jinu. Jinu, sensing the end of the conflict, told her to go and inform her father of their victory. He declared that their Radish clan was now the #1 clan. Essel, still shaken, corrected him, reminding him that the name of her clan was Radiru. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, Jinu felt a surge of accomplishment and power. He had leveled up, reaching level 97. The battle was over, and the scene of the battlefield, littered with the remnants of the fierce struggle, was now bathed in the soft light of dusk. After the fierce battle, the Shadow Soldiers moved with silent efficiency across the battlefield, collecting mana crystals that shimmered with residual energy. As Jinu surveyed the aftermath, a series of notifications appeared before him, each bringing a thrill of discovery. Among the spoils, he found the Demon Monarch's ring, the Demon King's longsword, the Demon King's daggers, Baran's horns, and the most coveted of all, the purified blood of the Demon King. Jinu felt a surge of excitement as he grasped the significance of the Demon Monarch's ring. This ring was the missing piece that would activate the set effects of his equipment, enhancing his power significantly. Yet it was the purified blood of the Demon King that held his focus. This was the key item he had been seeking, the final component needed to craft the holy water of life. Jinu had already obtained the fragment of the world tree by defeating Vulcan on the 50th floor and the spring water from the Forest of Echoes by defeating Matthias on the 75th floor. Now, with the purified blood in his possession, he could finally complete the potion. Essel approached him, her face etched with concern. She asked if he was alright. Jinu nodded, his thoughts already on the next step. A notification prompted him, asking if he wished to craft the holy water of life. He agreed without hesitation, though a sudden doubt flickered in his mind. The crafting process depended on his intelligence stat points, affecting both the success rate and the quantity of the final product. If only he had known this earlier, he might have allocated more points to intelligence. Essel, sensing his unease, reassured him. She spoke of his skills, confident that he possessed the necessary level to succeed. Jinu took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. He initiated the crafting process, and a countdown began, each second stretching into an eternity. The tension was palpable as he awaited the outcome. Finally, the notification confirmed that the item had been successfully crafted. A surge of relief and triumph washed over Jinu. The notifications continued, revealing more information about the items he had collected. Some of the Demon King's blood had been used up, and a bit of the world tree fragment was chipped away, but the spring water from the Forest of Echoes was completely consumed. Jinu realized that not all the materials were used to craft an item, only the necessary amount was utilized. Jinu held the potion carefully, knowing that it had the potential to cure his mother's illness. This was the moment he had been waiting for, and he couldn't wait to see if it would work. Iron dragged the massive body of the Wyvern on his shoulders, his hulking form effortlessly carrying the slain beast across the battlefield. He deposited the wyvern at Jinu's feet, and Jinu felt a surge of satisfaction. Iron had proven his worth yet again, understanding Jinu's needs without a word being spoken. With a chilling command, Jinu brought forth the fallen wyvern's shadow, summoning it with the word, "Arise." A mighty roar filled the air as the wyvern's shadow materialized. Esil, shocked and stammering, pointed out the impossibility, but Jinu explained that while he couldn't turn demons into shadow soldiers, the wyvern was an exception. He named the shadow Kaizel, feeling a sense of satisfaction as the creature spread its wings, ready for flight. Esil, quickly regaining her composure, pointed out the practical advantage of having Kaizel. If they rode the wyvern, they would be able to return to her clan in no time. Jinu's mind raced with thoughts of their next steps. The idea of descending each floor of the demon's castle to exit was daunting. He wanted to leave this place as quickly as possible, and with Kaizel, that possibility was within reach. Esil excitedly mentioned that her clan would hold a banquet upon their return, and her father would be very pleased. Meanwhile, Jinu realized he had not yet received his quest rewards. A notification popped up revealing he had received a top-tier runestone containing the Shadow Exchange skill. This skill allowed the caster to swap places with a shadow soldier. With a 3-hour cooldown period that would change based on the skill level, it required no mana and was specific to his job. Jinu was thrilled at the prospect of being able to teleport by swapping places with any of his shadow soldiers. However, noticing Esil's sad expression, Jinu decided to address the situation. He praised everyone for their hard work, but informed Esil that she would have to return without him. Esil was confused and saddened, thinking about the banquet they were supposed to attend together. Jinu explained that the Radish clan's location on the 80th floor was too far away for him to accompany her. He bid her farewell and activated his Shadow Exchange skill, disappearing with a whoosh. Esil and the shadow soldiers were left in confusion and sadness as Jinu vanished. A notification indicated that the boss had been defeated and the dungeon would be restored to its original state. The sad look on Esil's face remained as she watched Jinu disappear. Jinu successfully teleported to his neighborhood, feeling a sense of accomplishment as he realized the skill worked perfectly. Kaizel also reached the neighborhood along with Jinu, marking the end of a significant chapter in his journey. As the night sky stretched endlessly above, dotted with shimmering stars and illuminated by the full moon, Jinu soared through the heavens on the back of Kaizel. Meanwhile, in the Hunter Association, a sense of urgency filled the air. Jim Chol presented a crucial piece of evidence from Japan, a video captured by a satellite camera capable of detecting mana. Go Gunny explained that this video documented the first, second, and third search and destroy missions against the ants. As assured by Goto Ryuji, all the ants had emerged from their tunnels, leaving behind the queen and her guards. Observing the video, Go Gunny noted that the ants appeared to be evolving with each new generation, likely due to their 1-year lifespan. Despite the unsettling nature of this evolution, Go Gunhee's thoughts lingered on the ants guarding the queen. In high-ranking dungeons, it was common to find a few beasts protecting the boss. His concern grew as he considered the possibility of the ants returning to their tunnels once they sensed their queen was in danger. Jim Chol reassured him, explaining that jamming signals would be deployed to prevent the ants from communicating with each other. These special radio signals would confuse the ants and ensure that the hunters could focus solely on the queen and her guards. Suddenly, Go Gunhee stood up, feeling a surge of mana waves from a great distance. Alarmed, Jimchul asked what was wrong. Go Gunhee, still sensing the distant mana, wondered what was happening and urgently inquired about Sung Jinu's whereabouts. Jimchul, fully aware of the gravity of the situation, assured him that he was doing everything possible to get in touch with Sung Jinu. The scene shifts to a cozy cafe where Bacon Ho and Byung Gyu are deep in conversation over their drinks. Both men, sensitive to mana fluctuations, acknowledged a disturbance. Byung Gyu, despite being retired, had not lost his perceptive touch. They speculated on the source of the disturbance, jokingly attributing it to an argument between Choi Jong-in and Cha Hae-in over guild shares. Baek Ho poured another glass for Byung Gyu, who humorously appreciated the gesture and encouraged Baek to lighten up. Byung Gyu, known for his peculiar sense of humor, was the first and only S-rank hunter in perfect health to retire. Baek found this curious, considering the lucrative pay S-rank hunters receive and the rarity of someone leaving the profession without external financial support. Byung Gyu, sensing a serious tone in Baek's demeanor, questioned his resolve about an upcoming mission. Beck, undeterred by the tragic death of Eunseok, felt a strong sense of duty to address the ant threat to protect the country. This patriotic sentiment surprised Byung Gyu, who insisted he had no intention of returning to the life of a hunter. Instead, Byung Gyu revealed his plans to become a teacher, expressing his desire for a normal life away from the dangers of hunting. Beck, understanding the importance of this decision, respected Byung Gyu's choice. He had come to say goodbye, acknowledging the uncertain future and the possibility of not seeing his friend again. Byung Gyu, determined to pursue his new path, shared that he was preparing for the teacher certification exam with hopes of teaching Korean history. He had been approached with several lucrative offers from companies, including Yujin Construction, but he rejected them all, seeking a peaceful life where he could study history rather than live through wars. Beck admired Byung Gyu's resolve and thought about the nature of hunters. While many hunters seemed to thrive on fighting magical beasts, Byung Gyu's aversion to violence made him appear more normal in contrast to the often aggressive nature of other hunters. Reflecting on this, Beck poured another glass for his friend, appreciating the rare sense of normalcy Byung Gyu brought to their extraordinary world. The scene shifts to a quiet, dimly lit hospital room where Jinu visits his comatose mother. Jinu steps inside, his heart heavy with a mixture of hope and dread. His mother lies in bed, looking peaceful, but trapped in a sleep from which she may never awaken. Jinu approaches her bedside, his mind racing with thoughts of the immense risk he is about to take. He knows that if something goes wrong, there will be no turning back. His mother, already fragile, might not be able to swallow the holy water of life, and even if she does, there is no guarantee it will cure her. Yet, Jinu recalls the many miracles the system has performed for him. He remembers his journey from an E-rank hunter, struggling at the bottom, to becoming one of the most powerful hunters, all thanks to the system's extraordinary powers. Determined, Jinu opens the cap of the bottle containing the holy water of life. He decides to place his trust in the system once more. Gently, he slides his hand underneath his mother's head and carefully lifts it up. Her head feels light and fragile in his hand. With great care, he pours the potion into her mouth, guiding the liquid down her throat. Even though she is senseless, he ensures every drop is swallowed. As he waits, Jinu's eyes wander to a scar around his mother's neck. This sight triggers a memory from his childhood, flooding his mind with emotions. He sees himself as a young boy, standing in their small bathroom, holding a bowl of hot water. He had wanted to help his mother by washing her hair, a simple act of love, but in his clumsiness, he had accidentally spilled the hot water on her. The look of pain on her face had been brief, quickly replaced by concern for him. He remembers her voice, gentle but worried, asking if he was okay, if he was hurt. Despite being the one in pain, she had been more concerned about him. Jinu watched his mother closely. The color had returned to her face, a sign that the holy water of life was taking effect, but still she did not wake. His heart ached with desperation and fear. He had sacrificed so much and pushed himself beyond his limits for this moment. He silently pleaded with her, willing her to open her eyes, to come back to him. The weight she had carried all these years, he longed to bear it for her. Feeling overwhelmed, Jinu sat beside his mother's bed, his head bowed and his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. He had waited 4 long years for this moment, and now the fear of it slipping away was almost too much to bear. Then, like a miracle, a soft, familiar voice broke the silence. His mother's voice, weak but filled with warmth, called out his name. She had woken up. Jinu's heart skipped a beat and he could hardly believe what he was hearing. She asked how long she'd been asleep, her voice filled with confusion and wonder. Stunned and unable to immediately lift his head, Jinu was overwhelmed with a flood of emotions. He finally managed to tell her that she had been asleep for 4 years. His mother, still trying to grasp the situation, repeated the time in disbelief. Her first concern was for Gina, her daughter, and she asked if Gina was okay. Jinu, fighting to control his emotions, assured her that Gina was doing well, his voice steady despite the tears that threatened to spill over. His mother thanked him, acknowledging that he had kept his promise to take care of Gina. Jinu was stunned by her words, realizing that she remembered everything despite her long coma. She then noticed his distress and the scars that marked his body. With a mother's intuition, she sensed the hardships he had endured. She spoke to him with concern, recognizing the suffering and battles he had faced. Unable to hold back any longer, Jinu wept openly. Tears streamed down his face, each drop a release of the pain, fear, and hope hope he had bottled up for years. He admitted to her with a simple yet heartfelt acknowledgement that he had indeed been through a lot. Ji-nu reached out and gently took his mother's hand, feeling the warmth and life in her touch. The long-awaited reunion was finally here, and the weight of their shared burden seemed a little lighter. They sat together, finding comfort in each other's presence. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy watching.